on today's date, December 20th, 2023, at 6:30 p.m. on today's. It should be noted that those in attendance are Councilperson Mary Peck, Councilperson Garrett Landit, Councilperson Judy Schlesselman, Councilperson Mitch Malcolm, City Administrator Steve Beck, and we gave the attorneys the night off. And also City Clerk Sandy Walton. And with that, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move on to item number 4, approval of a council agenda, council minutes of December 6th and bills received. Any questions or concerns?
Shoot, I forgot to bring you guys an updated list, didn't I? Can we go get it?
Change, please.
Did we come up with well, I guess that's part of the conversation later as far as parking, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, never mind. So the farmer's market is going to move to the city parking over by the ice house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We have a map of that.
Okay.
It's okay.
It'd be the northeast side.
Okay.
And I think 10 parking spots.
Were they not thinking they were getting enough exposure where they were, or they just?
Yeah, I kind of think that they wanted to get where. they
There,
think
21, there it is.
you know, somewhere.
You just passed it. Isn't that it?
No, this was airport stuff, I think.
Oh, because you're on the old packet.
Oh, okay, it's on the new one. All right.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, okay.
That area right there.
Yeah. So they'll be able to hear everybody when the train goes by.
Exactly.
So it'd be able to, people.
How much are the eggs?
Still park over here.
Sorry about that.
Sure is nice seeing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, this kind of was that small number before these.
Yeah.
But we're towards the end of the year, so end of the month, end of the year. So.
Any questions or concerns? With that, we'll need a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda, council minutes of December 6th and bills received.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 4-0. gonna switch that and then I'm gonna forget. Resident comments, we'll open it up. Jay, are you resident today? Nope. Okay. All right, item number 6, Belle Plaine Community Development Report. You should all have a copy of that. This was dated December 20th, I believe. Yeah. I'll let you all read that and if we have any discussion on it.
It says we're looking to hire for a part-time director. Hasn't it always been part-time?
It's not been 40 hours a week in the past, but it's been close to it. So this would be less.
You have like an hour amount in mind or just?
We haven't finalized anything yet, but we're looking possibly around the 20-hour a week range.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
Okay, any questions or anything? Okay. On to number 7. As well, Chief Hudson provided a statement of the police report and activity sheet.
Do we have an amount that the old Tahoe sold for?
It's still on Get Deals.
It's still posted.
Last I knew. Isn't it through tomorrow? I
It
was thinking
is.
it was through tomorrow, isn't it?
Last time I looked was,
Friday.
You can
Oh.
get that and use the siren you get.
no.
Get
Last I
home-
looked,
get
it
home
said
from
5
work.
days, so I didn't know if we had surpassed that 5 days or not.
I think maybe it got edited based on, I know Gov Deals called the chief and had him make some changes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's or not, he didn't say what had to be changed, but.
Okay.
Any questions on the police report from Mr. Hudson? Okay, item number 8, discuss for possible approval, resolution 23-1202, a resolution of. Any questions?
They made pretty quick work of that.
Even Austin,
I think you were gone next, you saw
Diane
that Jay got it all filled in and.
Yeah, that looks nice.
So,
Yeah.
try to grade it out a little bit.
So we can pay the majority of this and then approve the rest of it, but it has to sit for 30
30
days.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some direction from Fairground on procedure, what the order of events needed to be.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
He has a reserve one.
Yeah. No, just good job, buddy, that was involved in helping get that done. Because that's been a long process and I know it's a little emotional and there was a lot of history behind it, but that building was beyond saving. And really, we just need to move on. So I think the cost was really reasonable and great job for the city and everybody, especially Johnny Durod, who helped get a lot of you and Steve and the city workers for getting a lot of the historical items out of there that could be saved were saved. And I think that's a really important part, that we did the best that we could to save the history of that, but it's nice to be able to move on.
Is it
If
not
anybody's-
the same?
The big desk part, and then some other the key things, and then a lot of some of the things that were Father Graham's historical going to the museum. And then I think the banister and the other thing, wood things are saved.
Yes,
We just have to decide
they're in storage.
if we find a home, somebody
Right.
can use that somewhere.
Best use. Yeah, and if anybody sees any videos of the demolition, I videoed pretty much every minute of it just because for historical reasons, and if anybody ever wondered if it was savable or not, how easily it came down and what it was constructed out of.
Honestly, really.
But if
'Cause
you
can
see any-
that top,
If
mean,
you
I
see
saw
any
some of it.
videos and there's any kind of historic stuff that you see in there, it just, we were not able to get to it safely. So, like an old bathtub or something like that, we just couldn't get to it.
Well, most of
So,
the furniture that we looked in there, most of that stuff was
well,
either really covered in awful mold that just isn't safe to be around at
Right.
all. It's, even
Right.
if you think you can clean it, you really can't.
I
And a lot of the rest of it was just broken.
feel we made our best effort at getting everything.
Doing that.
Okay, you need a motion on number 8.
I make a motion to approve resolution 23-1202, approving pay application for the Herring Hotel demolition.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Number 9, discuss for possible approval, resolution 23-1203, a resolution to accept the Harrington Hotel demolition project as complete and to approve the release of retainage in 30 days. Actually, Sandy just kind of commented on that. Any questions? I need a motion.
A motion for approval, resolution 23-1203.
Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Approves 4-0. Okay, on to item number 10. Discuss possible edits to ordinance 23A, the ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Belle Plaine, Iowa by repealing section 6906 pertaining to no parking during city or certain hours. We talked about this, and it's up to the council here if we want to go ahead and vote on this or table it for a little while and see if we have more businesses
Mhm.
that may want to let us know if they have a concern or not. In talking with Steve, it's not a hurry to change it. I mean, we still have some time if you guys choose that we wanna, Mitch, I know you missed the last meeting where we did have a business with some concerns.
I saw that, and I guess the one solution for them is to make a spot or two as for those hours at night to make that a loading zone only.
Well, but it extends really from 7th Avenue, according to how they explained it, way up through the theater.
Oh,
On
so
both sides.
they park.
Well, the guy comes in and he needs,
I
and
see.
he needs to
I
back
talked
around.
with.
I
did-
see what they're saying.
I did talk with Dave. They still have not been able to talk to the driver. They still can't catch him. But the box on the truck is 24 foot. From the front of the box of the truck to the front of the truck is at a minimum another 10 feet. And then they have a lift gate on the back of it. So they're looking at approximately 38 feet of truck to pull in there and try to back up.
I get it.
So
Okay.
they park perpendicular to the
Correct.
building.
I understand.
But I don't understand, and I remember that from when I used to do snow removal. They'd show up around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It depended. But I didn't, since they have a lift gate, I don't know why they just can't pull up parallel to the building and lower it and then roll it into the building. That I don't understand, but I'm curious to understand.
Just, I'm sure
to
some
hear
of the
more.
stuff they have is really
Heavy, yeah,
Yeah.
I bet it is.
I mean, I was expecting that they would have got back and, maybe everywhere. You know, except the west half a block or something, but I don't think we can go forward with it like in this form. I mean, since there's no timetable to it.
And that's kind of what I talked to the mayor about, is we don't have anybody else really that this affects right now for living purposes at the moment.
On
Yeah,
that part of the block, yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, I think it's important to make sure all the merchants have had their fair share and making a comment.
well, they were all sent a letter, but,
Yeah.
and these guys,
Jumped
Read
right
it,
on it.
yeah, they were in here. So,
Is there any kind of regular schedule or probably not?
no,
They can show up anywhere from 2 to,
Okay.
and I mean, there's.
On
weather
any day
permitting
too.
It's just a
and
route.
everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Not any day, every day. Monday through Friday, every day.
because if you go down there and they don't have something in stock, if it's in the warehouse in Ankeny, they'll be there the next day.
Right.
So,
That's why that system works so well. Okay.
So we won't be doing a motion, so we'll just plan on kind of tabling it for now, and we'll revisit it
For more information.
when more information is available. Okay, no more questions on that. We'll move on to number 11, discuss possible edits to the 23-9, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Belle Plaine, Iowa by amending provisions pertaining to snow emergency downtown area modification.
You probably don't want to change that one.
No.
They didn't
Nope.
change the
they're
other.
just hand in hand, I think.
These are kind of hand in hand, aren't they?
Yeah. Table it too.
Okay, so we'll leave that and just table that as well, unless there's any questions or anything. You all. Okay, item number 12, discuss for possible approval resolution 23-1204, a resolution adopting required policies for the CDBG funding.
So these are all exactly the same policies that you all approved in March. When we were talking about it, their initial response was, oh, yeah, well, if you did that in March, they should be good. And then it was like, well, but Mayor Fish signed all of those. How about you take them back to council so the new mayor can sign off on all of them? So there's not even, the only words that changed in the whole, well, and there were no words that changed in those policies,
Just that.
other than Lyle's name at the bottom.
And those
They're
were
just
never
follow them.
negotiable, they're
No.
just,
No.
No, there are requirements.
Doing this will help streamline everything from grant all the way down to audit, everything like that.
Yeah, so these policies are for the 2 CDBG grants that we've been awarded, for the fire department generator and the tree canopy grant is what brought these up again now.
Any questions? Need a motion?
I move to approve resolution 23-1204, adopting required policies for CDBG funding.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Number 13, discuss for possible approval resolution 23-1205, a resolution adopting a policy on the use of excessive force for the Community Development Block Grant Program.
Same thing, not a new policy, the exact same policy that you approved back in.
Just the wording is so weird on that.
isn't it? Always was before. Legalese, I guess.
Yeah.
There's no more questions or concerns. I need a motion.
I move to approve resolution 23-1205.
Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 14, discuss for possible approval, resolution 23-1206, a resolution authorizing I lost my spot, sorry. Authorizing execution of the contract with the EGIG-OG for the CDBGDR grant administration and project delivery services for the tree canopy grant. Any questions on that one? Sandy, you need to add anything to that?
No, I don't think so, just that it's a not to exceed $4,000, which will come out of the grant.
And a $75 hour for any excess hours.
How much did you say?
4,000.
That's just EasyCog administrating, just doing the paperwork for us.
It's their piece of the pie, not the grant itself.
Which one is that?
4,000 is for the,
$40,000 grant.
yeah.
I'm looking at one that says 3,000 maybe.
Oh, that's the next one.
All right, sorry, I jumped ahead. Lyle got me off. All right, thank you. Oh, there we go.
So did we have these previously, or the tree canopy and the fire department generator? Did we go over that paperwork too, or?
That part's already been approved,
Okay.
the grant itself.
The grant itself has been approved, but this resolution and the next resolution pertain to
Their work.
two
on that.
grants under this blanket of number 12 and 13.
Any more questions, concerns? Need a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 23-1206.
Second,
I'll second it.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Bye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Number 15, discuss for possible approval, resolution 23-1207, a resolution authorizing execution of a contract with an EasyCog, yeah, there we go. EasyCog for the CDBGDR grant administration and project delivery service for the fire station, fire department generator.
Not to exceed 3,000 and has the same hourly rate for excess hours or.
Correct.
And is that grant for how much? 30?
The fire station,
Yeah,
think it's
That was
up to 100.
100.
really. I just wondered why
There's less work involved.
okay,
It's an easier
okay.
grant to administer. I asked that same question.
And what did you say the tree canopy grant total is?
I think it's 40.
40.
40, okay.
So I was thinking, well, okay, $4,000 administrative, then, but not the same ratio, I guess.
Are all of these hitting at one time for a specific reason, or is that just how it kind of falls?
The grants.
Yeah.
I've been working on these with Jennifer Fensel for a long time, and she's been waiting for guidance from the CDBG DR funding, and and she just has instructed us over and over again: don't buy anything, don't do anything, don't just wait until we get all the stuff, because they have to execute all these, if we do anything project initiation wise,
Mhm.
preclude, or we get excluded from the program. So basically we're just doing stuff as fast as we get it from ECOG. I mean, we literally got it Thursday and Sandy put it right on there for me. And so I've been working with her on site selection for the generator and things like that, like option 1, option 2, option 3 that I've talked about with Jay and the chief previously. And I think one of the reasons the tree program has a little bit more administrative, because it has a 3-year window of, there's a maintenance component to it. So we have a project picked out for one location rather than trees all over town, because we have to do site analyses for each site. So if we plant trees in 10 neighborhoods or 10 yards, we're going to have to do soil samples and site evaluations for 10 sites. But if we choose one area, like one park, then they only have to do it one time, or maybe 2 tops. So that's kind of, but the tree canopy grant has a 3-year maintenance component to it if we want to do that, so that if we plant trees in this certain location, then we'll retain some money for a tree fund for that, to maintain those trees, watering, pruning, whatever may need to occur.
Will they be bigger than the ones we planted in the right of way or not?
I met with the tree board today and one member of the Donovan Fund, and we talked about this grant as one of our items of discussion. So to get some guidance from an expert, I contacted the state arborist, Mark Vitash, through he works for the DNR. So he's going to be coming. He's really excited to hear about it. So he's going to be coming right after. He's going to be coming on the 3rd, January 3rd in the morning, to look over and hear ideas. And so let him kind of help decide species and placement, and just look things over and all that too. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
More questions? Need a motion?
I'll motion for approval of resolution 23-1207.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Discuss for possible approval, resolution 23-1208, a resolution authorizing signatures for the CDBG-DR program and alternative signatures for section 106 compliance forms.
And this is just an update, like
It's just an update. It's
11 and 12. were.
Making Lyle so he can sign instead of Dave, and Steve and I'm alternates.
Any other questions or concerns? Need a motion?
I make a motion to approve resolution 23-1208.
Second?
I'll second.
Jared.
That was pretty close. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Moving on to number 17, motion to approve request for Nancy Weiss to use the city parking lot for the farmer's market every Friday from 4 to 8 this coming June through September of 2024. And in your packet, you'll see that map of the area where she would like to use. And I believe, Sandy, that's like 10 parking spots, correct?
Yeah, she indicated that they thought they'd probably need 6 to 8. So we went with 10, just give them a little growth room there.
Mhm.
Maybe they would be spread out a little bit more, but she didn't think they'd be any farther down than that.
Are there vehicles that park there regularly? Like,
Just the high schoolers.
yeah, but that's at night.
Yeah. No, I think I know what you're talking about. I think sometimes there are cars that are parked
Yeah.
there consistently.
So like
There's-
people meet and go to work and leave a car there or something
Right.
because it's okay to do that. Probably there needs to be some kind of preparation so that people know barricades or something.
I have a little bit of a concern for maybe potentially a problem with the traffic that might come in off 8th Avenue by the farmer's market into the lot. I am imagining that the south side parking spots will have some people parked there,
Oh, yeah.
not only for the farmer's market, but for other reasons.
So-
And I just have a little bit of a concern of the traffic flow possibly getting a little bit tight. Also with the ice house over there, with their customers potentially coming and going. It may be no problem at all, but I could see how there could be a potential there of that. I did speak to Ben Reineke today, and that's what I called you about. He has no problem with having the farmer's market there. I felt because he has an adjoining business, that out of courtesy to him, that we should let him know that this is under consideration to bring the farmer's market into the city lot. And he says he envisions no problems, and it might even be good for them because it could bring them some customers into the ice house who are there also for the farmer's market. So no problem from Ben.
So is there gonna be a porta potty that's set up for them there? Because there was in the library. Because, the museum wasn't open at night and the library was closed. Well,
Well, they won't need to have that one there anymore.
right. But that's why that was put there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things that I thought of is that, are they gonna leave a porta potty permanently there? Or that's why I was curious if you work something out of the ice house, because that's where everyone's gonna go then to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, not that it's that big of a deal, but it's just I know when they had it on 13th Street in front of the library, that was the concern.
Mhm.
Do we need to get a porta potty down there somehow?
I think it'd be a common courtesy to the ice house. I mean, there's businesses that if you're not a customer, that they prefer you not use the restroom. I mean, that's just a courtesy.
I mean, the farmer's market's the busiest really late summer, early fall. When do they stop this?
This is
Through
through
September.
Through September?
Used to be October, but I think it's recently been September.
I mean, the most vendors that have been there usually is maybe 8 vendors.
Probably.
So I mean, it's not like it's a ton of people, but I think should we need to throw this back to Nancy and find out what she thinks? I mean, if we don't need a porta potty there, let's not put one there, but I guess we need to think about that.
I guess I would think that putting one there with the high school group at night might,
And it just run into the potential of having
Yeah.
issues because I always have to yell at kids on Drawn Park when they leave it for the ball diamond because, when you're a kid and there's something that possibly is going to tip over, temptation is there.
Mhm.
And would be harder on a cement, out there in the Drawn Park. They can ground it into the, those are pretty well spiked into the ground, but it's going to be hard to do that on asphalt.
put it close to the railroad.
Yeah.
End up on the railroad tracks.
Well, there's a little grass there.
I mean,
It'd
it
be blue
could
spots all
potentially
over Main Street.
happen.
No, exactly.
That could happen.
Shay would not like
No.
that.
I mean, with that, and I'm not trying to talk them out of that, but we have the old medical center just south. Is that a potential spot that they could use? I mean, I'm just other ideas that are close.
Is there a reason why they want to move it? Do they not like that location?
They wanted it closer to a highway
Okay,
because of when it used to be where Casey's is now, it was nice and
There
shady
was-
there for one thing. There
that's
were
true, 'cause,
trees and
yeah,
it was just a pleasant place, plus Highway 21 went by there and people would see farmer's market.
yeah, that's not a bad thought.
So I think that was a reason for wanting to move.
The only other
I
thought,
think they also mentioned they didn't want to be in a road. They didn't like the
Mhm.
fact that it was in a street, even though it was blocked off and everything, that
Just a 2x4.
they felt like it would be safer in a parking lot than in a barricaded street.
Not,
Not potentially.
so I'm just gonna throw this out there, I probably shouldn't. The herring lot, do we know what's gonna happen there? I mean, is that gonna get grassed and get seeded and get worked on?
That's a good idea, if the ground would be,
I
you know,
mean,
ready for
I
it.
mean, there's
Is the
plenty of
city
parking
planning on
on, there's
keeping
plenty
it?
of parking on 8th Avenue. You're visible to everybody.
Is the city
Um,
planning on keeping that ground?
Well, that'd be just for this year, but I don't see us,
And think
I don't see
Jay's-
us selling
Jay's
that
plan's just to
anytime.
Seed it, right? Just,
Yeah, but I don't know if it'd be ready to be parked on.
That's the problem.
Well, I guess we could always approve it and see how it goes for the first year, and if there are any issues. If there are traffic issues that pop up the first year, we could maybe have them put some cones up, or we could put some modifications in there to potentially make it a little bit safer. And if there's no issue, well, then we don't have to address it, and just kind of see how it goes for a first year. Maybe they will decide after being there for a year that that's not the best place to be. Maybe the
Yeah, I
trains
just-
are too loud, or there's too much traffic going on.
Just hope that, they don't find that someone's always parked there. I mean, that'd be kind of a hassle. I guess we'll have to play it by ear. You could put a sign up that says on Fridays, no parking. If we have to,
Well, that's kind of why I threw maybe the sleep center.
right?
I mean, that's an open parking lot. It's really close. It's right there. Less traffic. I mean, just ideas thrown
Shade,
out there.
you got shade there.
Potential shade. I mean, I think there's more benefit there than the city parking lot, but
I think logistically it's small, because by the time you got vendors parked in there, where else would people go?
That would be the hard thing is people are looking to like pass through, but you had the 13th cutoff. I mean, there was no parking there. You had to walk to
so you got the
get
Masonic straight across the street. They can
Right.
walk from the Masonic
That's
parking
right.
lot right across the street.
because
Is
that's
that-
that's almost always open. on
Is that
weekends.
okay with Masonic?
Sure, I'm a
People-
Mason. I'll okay.
People are always parking in there.
Well, they allow a couple of guys to park their vehicles there. I really would not think that they would find any harm in people parking there for 5 minutes to go to the farmer's market.
So do we have any leads on any businesses coming into the medical center, or any practices coming in that would possibly take those spots, use those parking spots?
We are working on a lease with Miracle Ear that would be there on Friday until 5 o'clock, something like that.
Oh, that'd be a direct conflict.
I think the other thing is that their idea, if they want to be visible and have a sign up, I mean, I can see why they want to be there because they'd be really almost invisible if they were in the medical parking lot. You'd have no visibility. I mean, at least like when they were on Main Street, when you drove through Main Street, you dead ended right on, and there was a sign that said Farmers Market. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. Safety wise, it's the best place, but I think visual wise for them,
Mhm.
it probably is going to defeat why they're moving in the first place.
Yeah. Maybe one additional sign, but I get what you're saying. I mean, could have one sign on the 4 lane, and then you see them, but
Do you,
versus another
Yeah.
sign.
ideally, we'd like to fill the medical clinic up or get more tenants in there, but right now we're working on the first one, so.
Is Prairie Park too far out for them?
I hear there's not very much parking there. Because we did.
I
bring
thought
that-
that'd be a great
we
place
did
too,
bring that
Jay.
up before,
Yeah.
And that was
Well,
kind of the feedback. I
Even
got.
at the
only
farmer's
parking on the
market,
north
when it
side.
was being discussed, that came up. But the parking was the issue.
It's back from the road to.
Yeah. And
Just park on the highway and the shoulder's really big. I don't know.
Well, maybe do what Judy says, just approve it this year, see how they like it, and yay or nay.
It's a very
next
hot,
time.
loud place to be.
It is, that, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, when
Trains
the
are
train
good.
comes through, you aren't gonna talk, and the trains now are lasting
3 miles.
literally 10, 15 minutes. I mean, you sit there a long time.
Mhm.
yep,
Yeah.
or all day.
or are they convinced,
Yeah.
I mean, they are convinced that is where they wanna be, is right there.
It's gonna be loud.
If that's.
If that's what they want,
Yep, I mean,
yeah, I
you're
can
just-
see.
That's where I am too. We're not here to make a decision
Yeah.
about, for them, where they wanna be. It's.
Mhm.
No, I think you
for
want
us.
it to be a success. I mean, that's
Right.
always a nice draw and have people come to town. And so that is a good location for restaurants and
The old Grider's
For
lot,
everything else.
I don't know how much they'd charge, but that'd be a really good spot.
What's
too.
that?
The old Grider Motors lot might be a really nice place for it. If they would allow that, but I don't know.
The old Pizza Hut.
Yeah,
either one of those places, those would be good, so.
So are we going to approve the city parking lot then?
Sure. Good, move us on. Attaboy. Well done, sir.
I'll let Judy do it since she.
All right, if there's no more discussion, we need, a motion.
I move to approve Nancy Weiss's request to use the city parking lot for farmers markets every Friday from 4 to 6, June through September 2024.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay, moving on to number 18, motion to approve utilizing Wilford Stone of Lynch, Dallas for labor negotiations involving Team Masters Local 238 and authorizing the mayor to sign the attorney fee agreement.
have we used him in the past?
Yep. The contract is exactly the same as the last two contracts that we've signed with them, except for, of course, every year the fees increase.
Mr. Stone's who I use for all of our employee matters.
I didn't know if it was him or,
Yeah.
somebody else.
We have worked with a couple of associate attorneys.
Any questions or concerns? Need a motion.
I make a motion to approve utilizing Wilford Stone of Lynch, Dallas for labor negotiations.
Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 4-0. Number 19, discuss for approval a tax abatement under the Belle Plaine revitalization plan for Garrett Landit and Casey Merrick at 1410 4th Avenue, Belle Plaine, Iowa, parcel number 03028-400.
Yeah, let's get the magnifying glass out on this one.
Go ahead. Oh.
This is pretty standard. They made an improvement to the property and it's in alignment with our tax abatement program. And I recommend that we approve this.
It says permit states 1404 Third Avenue. Is that before the property was joined?
No, I had to have the properties adjoined before I could get the permit. I'm not sure why the
Oh.
permit was written for 1409,
Okay,
but
just curious.
yeah, everything for some reason is still addressed to 1409 Third Avenue.
Zoning.
Well,
That's why I put the parcel number on there.
Yeah.
It's all one parcel.
no, the zoning isn't, but it's like the permit.
I mean, the permit from planning and zoning.
Yes, I had to have the county join the properties before I could get the permit,
Yeah.
and then I took it to the proper people, and it was still wrote for 1409 Third Avenue. I don't know. I was just trying to follow
Sure.
the proper.
Well, yeah, you're right. The address is the address of the parcel is the address of 1410 4th Avenue.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
That's why usually when I send these up to county, I try and include the
one
parcel
parcel.
number,
Yeah.
so there's
I don't
no
understand
question as to
but
what.
it was wrote for. I don't know why it was wrote for their old address.
It came first.
Yes, I don't know.
Any other questions or concerns? With that, we need a motion.
I make a motion to approve tax abatement under Belle Plaine revitalization plan for Garrett Land and East America.
Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Staying.
Yeah,
Sustained, I'm sorry. That's just 3-0. Okay. On to number 20, city administrator's report for November.
Treasures.
Oh, I did. I said administrator, didn't I? Sorry.
Cut right over. it.
I cut right over it, didn't
It's
I?
all right, I was gonna say,
trying to get-
wow, I don't have to do anything.
You were bringing us out.
I thought she was getting a promotion.
Exactly.
Sorry.
You're allowed to do that. It's quite okay.
Number 20, number A, city treasurer's report. Sorry.
It's all right. Really nothing, super significant to point out. Just something I'm going to mention. We are getting closer on a couple of funds that are going to require us to do a budget amendment. Mostly because there were things unforeseen, like a hailstorm that, caused hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage again. And as we're paying for that stuff, we have funds to cover it. It's not like, we're depleting some funds, but it wasn't budgeted. So as we start getting close in certain areas, we have to make sure that we reflect that in a budget amendment. So I'm going to be starting to work on that. Hopefully I'll have it ready for us to set a hearing. Maybe the next meeting, for sure by the second January meeting.
yeah, so we've got receipts of 321,000 on the first page. And there's just nowhere to go with it right now, right? Miscellaneous revenues, so we received the proceeds as revenues.
Yeah.
And the offsetting expenditures are
And offsetting expenditures are down in the
scattered throughout.
600. Well, I put them all in the 600s actually.
Okay.
Um, Under the 650s. So we got $132,000 in expenses there. So our general government area is at 73% of its budgeted expenditures. So that's why I'm saying we're getting really close to, 73 isn't really close, but I know that we're a month or two out from being able to approve a amendment, so we need to get started on it.
I had a question back on the November treasurer's report for landfill garbage. Was that was up significantly? Is that because of the herring?
No, it is up because we pay a quarterly.
Okay.
And this was the quarter that, or the month of the quarter that I got paid, so,
Okay.
I should have brought it, I'll try and remember next time. I do have a spreadsheet specifically for that fund that I'm tracking year over year, so that you can tell that it's moving in the right direction, because looking from month to month, you know, when you pay that $15,000 quarterly bill, it bounces up that month, and then it goes down and down, and then it bounces up again and down and down. So I want you to see that in general, the fund is moving. It is improving.
Okay.
Never be it slowly. It is improving. It's going in the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, I'll bring that next time.
Any questions on the treasurer's report? Any other questions for Sandy?
Solar report is also there for you to look at. Again, really nothing alarming there. And then lastly, I was just going to ask for any feedback any of you have as I continue to work on the budget. We'll probably be addressing just a portion after the first January meeting. That's kind of what we talked about trying to do. I want to make sure we were all still on that same page. So after the January normal council meeting, we'll spend maybe about an hour. I thought maybe we could go through proprietary funds first, because they are not dependent on our valuations, which if I'm lucky, I'll have the day before the council meeting. So I can't really tell if I'm budgeting too much or not enough or whatever in the general fund items, because they're all dependent on what we will get in taxes, which I won't know until I have valuations. So the proprietary funds are not dependent on that, because they're all based on what we bill for water and sewer and garbage. So Jay and I have been through the majority of them, still waiting on getting with Nick. But I should be able to have those ready to go. And they'll probably take that share of an hour. So far, Mayor and I kind of talked about wages and what to do from a budget standpoint for increases or not. I know I had sent something out to all of you and didn't really get any direction about what you guys were feeling. So what I've started in the initial round of the budget is 3%. The Midwest CPI is, what was it, 3.2% increase, so roughly that. We didn't really have a significant insurance uptick that would take away a bunch from that. I've kind of been watching ClerkNet. There's been a lot of communication about budgeting and what everybody else is doing. I've seen everything from 3 to 6.5. The majority of people are like 3, 4 that I've seen so far. There have been a few outliers out there that do something abnormal from that, but that's kind of where the majority of folks are falling in. Again, because they all saw the number at 3.2 and they're going one side or the other of it. So if you all have any different thoughts than that, let me know.
Okay.
Otherwise, that's what I'll bring. The labor report and the proprietaries based on. The other thing, historically, we've budgeted water and sewer increases based around the CPI somewhere. So I also did those at 3%. Again, whatever you guys think is appropriate. The 3% worked pretty well in, having them balanced with the ones I've been through so far anyway.
Does the ordinance state that it should be based on the CPI, right? But in the past, we've done something a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say you based it on CPI, but you didn't necessarily go with exactly what CPI
Right.
was. Like last year, you went with like 5.9, I want to say.
Well, I think the CPI.
But I think CPI was
Yeah, it was way high.
Yeah.
8 or something. So we talked about an hour after is it January 3rd? 4th?
Third.
3rd.
Mhm.
Oh, wrong year. I pulled it here.
Yeah, that's right.
Funny.
So yeah, it was like, I'm trying to plan on maybe an hour after that meeting and then an hour after the January, is it 20th? I want to say, whatever the second meeting is. And then possibly an hour at the special session meeting will be the 4th Wednesday of the month.
3rd and 17th,
There you go.
And then the following Wednesday will be a special.
the 24th.
Mhm.
And I might not be in town.
The 24th one?
Yeah.
We might have been through the majority of it by then. Have a date to set. That meeting would probably be the date that we're setting hearing dates.
27th.
I'm assuming by that time you'd have seen the majority of the budget department.
Yeah, I'm definitely gone on the 24th.
You got a tasting.
Hmm?
You got a tasting.
Yes. I'll be in Dallas.
Oh.
Texas, not Iowa.
Anything else from me?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Sandy's been working really hard on things with the budget, so. Going above and beyond there. Okay, anything else? Okay. Number 21, city administrator's report.
All right. I have been having phone meetings with Nate, probably 5 to 6 since the last council meeting. Sometimes we talk a couple times a day. Sometimes we talk for, 2 or 3 days. It just depends on what updates are happening. And I had an idea of something that I could do to help them out, that would save us some money, and that is revisiting our source water protection plan. And Nate thought that was a really good idea. So I contacted the IDNR, and they're going to be working on providing some people to us to help us redevelop our source water protection plan. And that would be for all of the capture zone going into the well field, communicating with the stakeholders and landholders in that area, to work on a nutrient reduction plan, which would bring down our nitrate levels in our shallow well. And that's an important thing to do. I had done that previously about 10, 12 years ago. I can't remember. And I just, I was looking at it and I saw some of the things changed out there. Some farmers changed or practices changed. And Nate thought that was a cool thing that we could be working on our end to get them information and get that going. Let's see. I'm going to kind of bounce around between things. The Alliant Energy contractors that were doing the build out for Alliant Energy Gas are wrapping up for the year, for the season. Actually, their restoration crews will be back in the construction sites that they were in the spring. They need to let some of those sites settle down. And they just said if any citizens have complaints about where they dug in the yard or in the alley or anything like that, that the restoration crew will come back after that's settled over the winter, and they're going to be doing the restoration of grass and those types of things. Same with USA Communications. They were doing a lot of build out this year that are almost done. I think they have 2 or 3 drops left, and then they'll be wrapped up for the season. Excuse me. I applied for a $250,000 water quality water quality initiative grant. They accepted our pre-approval, and we've moved on to the next step. So our full application will be due in February, and they really liked our grant. The pre-application is just kind of like an abbreviated version of what we want to do, and that's involving the wetland restoration and building sites for potential new well sites, integrating that into the wetland design.
Who's they for the grant?
Iowa Department of Ag and Land Stewardship. So we already have one from IDNR for $250,000. That's what we're using now for a lot of the testing components, and Iowa Department of Ag and Land Stewardship.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right.
Did you
Can
have
we
any-
use any of those grants for building or treatment facility or whatever we're going to call that, where we purchase that land?
No.
So
All,
we can't use any of that total of 500,000 for any of that?
no, this is all for that. The kind of grants we're going to have to go for vertical infrastructure are going to be like CDBG grants, USDA grants, things like that. I'm just chasing down money that I think we can get for the things that I think we can get. We're not to the point, because we don't have our water study in the building designed and the plant designed yet. I don't even have enough information to even write a grant on it, because I know we have land. I know we want to build a plant, but that's still all in engineering right now. So since I have enough of a background in this to write the grant and know what I want to do, and I've already been working with the state on this for, a year-ish on planning and everything, and Nate's on board with everything and is overviewing things as they come in. He looked over this grant before I submitted it, and he'll help wrap up the grant, or someone on his team will help wrap up the full grant proposal that's due in February.
So we have to wait until we do these studies before we can proceed with, or we're waiting on engineering for the filtration facility, we'll call it, or
Isn't that due in February or by February?
What's that?
Isn't that report due by February?
The preliminary engineering report? I think so. So they've been working really quickly on it. They had to revise it because they're starting from scratch because of we said we don't want to drill a 2,000-foot deep well and put a $8 million facility on top. We can't afford it.
Mhm.
So they have to pick up because the others did not investigate that thoroughly, the option that we wanted to go with. That's why we changed engineers. So they're working on it as quickly as possible. I don't really have anything to add to that because it's all chemistry and chemical engineering and hydraulic, and it's all above ground engineering stuff.
Okay.
But since I know the lay of the land, I can be working on grants and use the lingo and meet with the people. And Nate is very happy that he doesn't have to, and we're not paying him to do it either. I mean, we pay him I run up his flagpole, but if they didn't think it was a good idea, they wouldn't be giving us money. And I can
Do you know
elaborate.
where they're at on the engineering report so far? I mean, like, what stage they're at in it?
That isn't really anything that I talked to him about because that is on that team is doing that. So Nate is not doing that alone. He has delegated that to, he has a team of engineers that's working on it. So there's someone that has to go over like what the electrical load is and what, pumping rates and all of those things. And,
But they're well aware of the deadline.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Steve, while all this preliminary work is being done, what do we need to be telling the public in our updates? Because they're wanting to know when their water's going to get better. And I know that we don't have a date for that, but what can we tell them?
Well, the situation has not improved at the well field. It's still holding steady. It dropped a little bit, but then it rebounded.
Okay,
So we're holding steady. It's very low. I don't feel like, what we need, we're in management mode always, but we're in high management mode now. So I don't feel comfortable using the water that we have in our reserve to flush hydrants out and water mains out, which is what would need to happen to remove the sediment from the line. So all that needs to be flushed out. And I don't feel comfortable using the water that we have to run it out on the ground. So I am not trying to be aloof about it. I take it very seriously. I was in someone's house today helping them try to figure out something because they're in a part of town that's always or often disturbed and have discolored water. So I've talked to several people today that have that. There are some parts of town where people don't have any problems at all. And there are areas, the situation hasn't improved.
When
And
people are saying they had discolored water, are we mapping that? Are we knowing what addresses and where in town that is?
yeah, I mean, I have talked to, for the most part, every single person that's called in, and I have their addresses. The predominant reason is one of the ladies I talked to today lives on a street that has a 4-inch water main, and very close by to her is a large water main. So the people that are just around the corner from her I have no reports of problems 100 feet away. Excuse me, because her water main is small, it cannot, the water cannot, the sediment in the water cannot settle to the bottom. It's always or often disturbed, and it's, a block away from your house. And when I was talking to her, I took her into a faucet in here and opened it up, and I was like, I could flip a coin on City Hall whether or not we're gonna have discolored water or not. That's why we have the drinking water here. So just, it's available to anybody. I'm not saying it's not ideal, but that's why we have it. And, you know, she talked about her shower curtains, and there are things you can, you know, do for that. And, you know, lime and scale buildup. Some people have been buying water softeners. I created a shopping list on Amazon of things that I actually installed at a residence in town that is working very well. And if someone's interested in that, I'll send that to people. I'm not saying you have to buy it from Amazon, but at least tells you what you need, the fittings and everything. If someone wanted to do it, it's a water softener with a reverse osmosis drinking system and a whole house filter for like $1,000. But that's just somebody installed it themselves. Because
I think what we need to do as soon as possible is put together, and I know that you can't do it right now, but I think people need to have a vision on how long this is going to take. Literally, is it going to be a year before we could see, you know, I mean, the focus really, I think short term, and what's going to fix this is really getting well 6 to where that's treatable water that's treated that can be used. That's our goal, right? As well
The
6.
treatment plant.
The treatment
Mhm.
plant to make well 6, because we know we have that water. We know it's there. That water has to be made drinkable.
Yeah.
And so that really is, you know, all the, I know it's important for the long run, but I think we're giving people kind of a misguided view on, we're talking about wetlands and fixing that problem. That does need to get fixed long term, but that's not going to fix things in the short term. And I think that's what people need to have a vision on, is how quick can this plant get built? When is it going to get built? How are we going to fund it? And that has to somehow, on a fact sheet, has to get spelled out. Even if you're saying we don't have all the answers, but this is going to take a year. And people need to have that time frame in their head, because if you read social media, people are expecting a light switch to be pulled, and that's not going to happen. And I don't want to give people the false security that we're working on it. We tell people we're working on it. I go to Casey's and I talk to people, and you try to explain the long thing and they get glazed over eyes and they don't want to hear it. They just want to know, when's the switch going to get turned?
Right.
And I think we have to kind of give them a fact sheet and stating that here's what we know, here's what's going to happen. And even if we're not sure, give 6 months to 18 months, something that someone can actually focus on.
I appreciate
And I know
that.
that's hard for you to do. We're asking the impossible, but
No,
I think everyone has to kind of have
I'll give
that
my
clear
very best.
vision.
I'll give my best answer that I can give you right now.
Yeah.
I don't have any control over anything to do with well 6 treatment plant. There is nothing that I can do to help with that. I can do a lot of work on the wetland, and the DNR and IDALs think that is the fastest solution. That's why they're giving us the money, because that is something that can change our life immediately, because I'm also working with them on locating springs and things like that to feed the wetland and other recharge areas. The treatment plant, when we did this one, I mean, that took 2 years roughly. I don't know. So I will talk to Nate and try to get them drilled down on a timeline, but right now they're trying to figure out what stuff to put in the room, you know, that, so.
Right.
How does the wetland help? I guess I'm a little confused as how does the wetland help if we need rain and we're worried about the wetland? How does that help us short term right now, do they think, if we don't have rain? I don't
Because
understand that.
What I understand what you're saying. So that's why I'm looking at the spring feeding of the wetland. So another water aquifer feeding that
Within that area?
within the area from another aquifer. That's the compelling part that they're looking at. And that's one of the reasons why we've got, you know, PhDs from Iowa State and the University of Iowa out here trying to help me with this is because I know that the well field has worked for 100 years and it got messed up, and then we didn't have any rain for 4 or 5 years, and that's really what messed it up. But other than that, you know, I'm not trying to kick the can down the road. I just literally have nothing I can do to advance the project. I mean, I can't call up Nate every morning and be like pounding him, you know, and hounding him because they're working on it as quickly as they can. And when I call him, I'm not trying to get him side quested off or anything like that. We are talking about those kinds of things. And, you know, I worked on with the landowner we bought the property from for the treatment plant and easement to run a water main out to the highway and back so that we can loop that. Those are the kinds of things I'm working on, is just legwork for him to get the whole thing put together for his team. Those are things that they don't have to do. But I don't.
What was the group that we did the study with in Feenstra and
Feenstra and
Kim?
Kim.
Is that it? Because they gave us 5 proposals. I think, wasn't it 5
I'm pretty sure.
that they gave us proposals, and that took a year and a half for that study to be done.
It took 6 years.
Yeah.
Wasn't that forever? to
I
get
was-
done?
I ended up writing that at the end before.
Well, they came and they brought us that whole thing, and because we were
Yeah.
constantly bugging them to
Yeah,
finish
but they had
that water
some
study.
bad assumptions that
Right.
sent them back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Like everybody paid the same water bill. No.
Right. So there were a number of things, and there wasn't any, they weren't getting a lot of guidance. So it wasn't really their fault that they were struggling for that period of time. And I gave them the best information that I could when I was working with them, and Sandy gave them the best information she could, and Nick did too. And, you know, it's a philosophy of, I don't want to get into it too deeply, but you know, some people are of the assumption that you need to get water from 2,000 feet underground and pump it to the top and then treat all the stuff out of it, like radiation and arsenic and all that stuff that's in the deep water. And my proposal is that we protect the land around our well field and get the water from the shallow wells like people have done for a couple thousand years, which has been the most reliable, safest drinking water available. And that is why we're getting attention around the state. Iowa City's looking at doing things similar, and it's not because of me, it's just a different thought process, because for the last 50 years, people have been dropping in wells into the Jordan Aquifer 2,000 feet down and then treating the heck out of it. It's very expensive, and it takes a lot of electricity to do. So in an emergency, one of the biggest things I'm concerned about with going that deep to get water is Williamsburg is struggling with their brand new reverse osmosis plant that they put in. They're already replacing, they're replacing things, and I don't even know if it's been online for a year, maybe 2 years. And those should last 10 to 15 years.
But we're not going 2,000 feet.
No.
We're going 190, right? 100, whatever the well 6 is.
Yeah. So
175.
what I'm getting at is, I don't want a really super complicated treatment process, because if materials become scarce, like a COVID shutdown or something like that, and you can't get filters and stuff like that, the system we have to have has to be pretty resilient. And that was one of the things that Nate's team agreed with, is let's get what we need, but not make it too complicated, and do it as simply as possible. And then make the building big enough, and the treatment processes have enough room so that if the DNR comes out in a year and says, well, you have to remove this constituent now, because, you know, sometimes the rules change as you go, and everything's going to work, because well 6 isn't enough water doesn't produce enough water to take care of all of our needs. We're very dependent on the well field. And if the well field goes down and doesn't have water in it, we will not even be able to make it to the point where we're building a treatment plant. So that's why the wetland is so critical to this, is if we don't have water to blend with well 6 water until we get the treatment plant built, then we're not going to have very good water at all. Because you would just have well 6 water, and I don't think that produces enough water to supply the town on its own. So that's why it's like wearing suspenders in a belt. So we've got the shallow wells. We really need to get those going, because well 6 treatment is out there a ways. Even if we had a checkbook open right now, that's going to take some time. I don't know how long. I'll work really hard to try to get some kind of a timeline, but I'm just working on the things that I can do. And I am very happy. And I think we can be very happy that we've gotten $500,000 of grant money for the thing.
I agree with that.
And
I think that's
I don't want to
actually huge,
discount
because
that.
when you look at the state of Iowa was given 3 million and we got 250,000 of that, that kind of shows you the importance to put on our water situation.
Everyone in the senior engineer of the DNR is on our task force. So they're looking to us to help us and as a model, because we were the epicenter and are the epicenter of the drought. And they want our information, and they're paying for it.
But I think that's something that has to come from the city clearly, as far as, and it kind of gets lost a little bit, and we have to kind of keep reminding people that there is no quick fix to this, that there is a goal, there's a plan, and this could take, but I think we have to kind of somehow put a time frame to it, that it's not going to be March or April that this gets fixed. Pray for rain. We hope we get it. I know what you're doing long term for the wetlands, but I think we have to give people a clear indication.
Sure. And I'm hoping.
And it's obviously you have to carefully word it so that people don't think, okay, you said 9 months and 3 days, and that's obviously not what we wanted.
Jay went out and did the work Jay did. So when it does rain, when we do get precipitation, when we get snow melt, it will capture that the best we can right now.
Right.
And if, I'm still always about every week, excuse me, talking to Homeland Security, because that's our FEMA liaison for funding for things. And just other types of emergency aid, about the kinds of funding sources that I talked to Zach Ellison, who's our group leader, when I was at the doctor yesterday, and he just wanted a briefing on everything that's going on and high level. And I said, tell me you're finding some kind of funding for us to do something more. And he's like, I am always on the lookout for you guys. And I mean, for whatever that's worth, I mean, that's really huge for me.
That's going to be the next critical step. Is the funding.
Right. So there's a chicken and an egg thing too. So one of the parts of my, what point am I on here? The Herring Hotel property, I've been talking to some developers about that, on things we could do. And, these are my ideas. I'm spitballing with people and trying to pitch ideas to them, but I'm interested in trying to build something similar to that back for senior housing. And there's some appetite for it. It's not going to be cheap, but that would be a really cool addition. And if we were able to get something like that accomplished, that would be part of our TIF district. And, some of that money would go towards infrastructure improvements, and some of it would go towards tax rebates back to whoever the developer was. but that's another way to use development. It's hard to develop when when you don't have enough water, but everybody sees we're trying and what we're doing, and there is a lot of interest in this town. People are buying houses and moving here. They're building houses. They're building, I'm working with people on properties, and there's a duplex going up on 13th Avenue right now, and I helped them get that going, and they're going to do another one. Sounds like as soon as that one's done. I think one of them sold already. So revenues and things like that, and customers and all of these things. And I'm taking it very seriously. I'm talking with anybody that comes in and wants to talk about water quality and what they can do. Sometimes people are having problems and they just have the wrong water filter, and it's as simple as that. But there was a lady that came in and said, I've been having problems for a year. And I said, I've never heard from you. And we just talked about what filter she needs and what her softener setting needs to be. And she's going to go home and try that and report back as soon as they get results or not. And so I feel like I will try to get a timeline down for the treatment plant, but I'm working on things from about every angle I can, and Nate not having to work on wetland stuff or, finding springs to, feed the wetland. We're not paying for that. And there are other projects too. So I'm just prioritizing things, and water is always number one, which is what direction I got from the council. And I'm not trying to make any excuses. That's just, that's where we're at.
Well, this is a very fluid situation, and it's going to be the number one. Sorry, that was a bad
I
pun.
was gonna say, no
I
pun
really
intended.
apologize. I didn't even think of that. It's just going to be very difficult, and I really sympathize with families that have kids and they're dealing with that. And I've talked to Andy Elin, and I know that they're busy all the time and trying to help resolve people. So, but I think we as a city, and with social media, and I know we dislike social media and for a lot of different reasons, but that we don't have a newspaper. So that's our way of relying on communicating to people now. So we have to be engaged with people through that, because that's our only alternative right now. If we had a newspaper, we could write a really great article and everybody would see it like it used to be 20 years ago, but that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So-
With that though, we got to keep it simple. We can't.
Exactly.
You can't
I
lose
don't
people
know.
in
No.
2-page long
No.
explanations.
Right.
You got to keep it.
I mean, that's why a lot of people said, well, he won't talk to you on here on Facebook, because if I tried to chase down every Facebook, I couldn't.
Just have
So
to have
what
press
I do
releases
is I
and
like,
announcements and
please
updates
call.
like you do with your newsletters.
Please. So I'm going to be doing
Right.
another one here soon, and I'm trying to figure out how to craft that so that it is something that people, because this is so complicated.
Right.
It's so complicated. So when I advise people to come in and talk to me or call me, I go through step by step. I've kind of got it condensed down to about 15 to 20 minutes, unless people have a lot of questions. Or like, here's what's happening. Here's what's going on. Here's what you can do. Here's what you can do if you have $100. Here's what you can do if you have $1,000. Here's what you can do if you have no,
Right.
But to write all that out would be page after page. And it's case by case. So everybody has a different situation. They're in a different neighborhood. They might have. So that's why.
You actually just said it right there. You just made the point. It's a case by case basis in the city as to what water main you're on and what kind of solution you have. And whether or not you say call City Hall, identify. That's why I asked if you had a map, So you're mapping this out, so you know the areas, because the minute anyone calls, yes, you're in the area, we know
Yeah, absolutely.
that there's that issue. And
I've been, since I started, well, actually, since I was the water guy, I've done
Right.
that. And I know where the problem areas are. And one of the things I'd like to say, thanks, you kind of helped me remind
Well,
me of something.
I just want us to all be the mouthpiece that we can be, but I'm afraid to tell anyone because I don't always know what to say to people
Sure.
outside of, we are working on it.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think any team's worked harder on this ever in the history of the town than everybody sitting in this room right now.
Because that's what I told people. I said, I've been on the council 6 years and I honestly cannot remember a council meeting where the word water didn't come up in a meeting. I mean, since I've been on here.
This
At
is
I mean, I don't think there's ever been a time when we haven't talked about something.
since I'd say in the last 2 years, 2.5 years, more has been done to improve the infrastructure in this town than ever before. I mean, other than when it was originally built. We're not to the point where we can be proactive and be installing water mains or anything like that. But when you brought up a point that reminded me on something I wanted to touch on, I've had a lot of people just come in and be like, can you just, I'm like, we don't have enough water to flush the mains. I'm like, can you please just open the fire hydrant in front of my house? And I'd be like, that would make it worse. It would make, you have to do the whole thing or nothing. And that's why the last time we flushed mains, I was just like, I'm doing this no matter what. We were low on water then, not as bad as now. I was like, we are not going to be able to put this off anymore. And it improved things for a while. But when we take our classes and things like that and get our certifications through the DNR, they recommend flushing it twice a year to keep everything clean. And that's any town. That's any town.
There have been times in the past where it hasn't been done for years on end, correct?
Yes, when I did it a few years ago, it hadn't been done for
Yeah.
a period of years, maybe missed 10 times or something, But we have always had a water problem in this town for my entire life when I was a little kid. And that's why well 6 was drilled. But well 6 was a temporary solution. And, this leadership team is saying we're building a treatment plant. And I have that message loud and clear. And we hired, I believe we hired the best engineering firm possible to do that. And I believe in them. So if anybody asks you about, well, can they just flush my fire hydrant to freshen it up? That's not going to work. When we have a water main break someplace or a leak and we have to go around and flush things out or, bleed the air out of the lines, it really stirs things up. And we put out the call-em-alls and they call City Hall and they're like, hey, my water's messed up.
Yeah.
And did anybody have any other questions about water stuff? I had a few other things too.
That's good.
So the community center, their dish sanitizer is going out and they were having trouble finding one for a reasonable price. So I'm helping them get that. And I also suggested that they get a softener. So they had me help them get set up with that. So they're going to be installing a softener and a new dishwashing sanitizing system. And I think the county's going to pay for part of that. So that's good. And we were on track to spend about $45,000 for those things. And now we're probably going to be more about in the $25,000 range.
Stuff's expensive.
It's very expensive. So that'll be helpful for them and hopefully county will pick up half of that. Let's see. I did employee evaluations about this, well, between October and November of last year, I think, but I didn't do them yet because I wanted to wait until I had my review to get direction from the council on staff issues or things, and, from the new leadership team on how they'd like me to direct staff, if there's any adjustments that need to be made. So if that's okay with the council, I'm going to delay employee reviews until after I have my review. Then I can get, otherwise it would be, I evaluate them and then you evaluate me, and it'd be nice to, when we sit down to get my marching orders, to then be able to transfer and communicate that with the staff. If everybody's okay with that. I just wanted to say thanks to Sandy for working so hard on doing the legwork on the budgeting and all that, so that I can focus on all the other things that are going on. She usually hammers it out as rough as possible, and I think she's going to have it really dialed in. And then we'll go through, and when there are things where we need to figure out if there's alternative ways to do things, then she and I'll sit down and work on those complicated parts. But I just wanted to shout out to Sandy for that hard work she's been doing with staff. Thanks for suffering through that report.
No, it's all right.
Anybody got any questions or anything for Steve? Okay. Moving on to item number 22, mayor's report. If you guys look in front of you, you should have a Ward 1 candidate list. As of today, that's the 5 candidates that have put in for Ward 1. Obviously, there's a statement there that anybody still has till the 27th. It'll close at 4 p.m. on the 27th. One thing I would suggest is maybe doing a little bit of due diligence, calling, asking a few questions and kind of seeing where you want to go. I mean, that's obviously your choice. The decision is going to be your choice. So, and then, that's totally up to you. And then, let's see here.
Are you looking for the 14-day thing?
Yeah,
List?
yeah. Right here. Yeah, right here. Right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, so also with that, the last election that we had from Ward 1, and that was when I came into the thing, we had 116 votes. 15% of that was 18 signatures. So that's what I had to have, was 18 signatures to get in. The public has 14 days after the appointment. So once you guys appoint, they have 14 days to petition for a special election. That has to be from Ward 1 and Ward 1 only. So, it could happen. Yeah, we don't know.
So the petition is 18 people.
Yeah, because
Okay.
No.
15% of the
I understand, right? I just didn't think that many people voted last time.
Oh, you thought that was a high number?
Hmm.
You thought 18 was a high
I
number?
thought when we thought we'd figured it out before, we thought it was like gonna be 8 or 9.
Yeah, I went back and looked the actual canvas that came back from Lyles from the election in, was it 21? I
21.
want to say 21. And there were 116 votes split between Lyle and another candidate.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
So yeah, that's where it would take
It
18
would take 18.
petitioners.
So,
Because before I thought we guessed, we didn't know whether or not it could be the whole city, but it has to be only from Ward one.
from Ward 1.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
And the public would have 14 days from the time
The
that you
appointment.
guys appoint someone.
So once someone is appointed, they immediately take the seat, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. So if we appoint on the 3rd, they're ineffective the 3rd. Okay.
That's my understanding. We can double check with county, but that was my understanding.
So potentially an appointee could serve and then within that time frame, a petition could be brought forward for a special election.
Mhm.
But if they didn't, they would just serve out the
2
term.
years.
Term.
Yeah, for 2 years.
Yep, and then the reelection in 2 years. So, yeah, so just kind of a little update on that. And then, what Sandy's gonna do is she will individually email you guys if somebody else puts in between the time. And then kind of keep you guys updated as much as she can. So, and I thank her for that. So just keeping you guys all in the loop and then we'll, see what kind of decisions you make when the time comes. So I think we got some really good candidates out there. I'm really happy to see that, even at this point, 5,
Mm-hmm.
so, and there could be more. So was happy to see that. So, all right. You guys got any questions or anything on that? I think it's pretty simple. So, okay. And then, for the life of me, you guys, I had a piece of paper from Michael Beck Landscaping. He had met with me about trimming and pruning the trees on Main Street. Not the full board cut that he originally had got approved by the tree board, but for the life of me, I cannot find where that piece of paper is. Okay, but I can tell you guys, he did come talk to me. He wanted me to talk with the council about it. Basically, the bid was $800. The tree board did approve him to do this, but that was the full bore trimming every tree on Main Street. This is more getting them off of the buildings, getting them pruned up so they're not in Jay's way or whatever, So that's a decision that we'll leave up with you guys if you want to approve for him to do that. I didn't, by the time I got it, the agenda was already done and out there, so I couldn't get him on the agenda. So,
Well, today, when the tree board met, let me back up. In March last year, Mike gave a bid, an offer, kind of a study
mhm.
on trimming the trees down on Main Street. And by the time it came to the Donovan Group, because that seemed to be something that would fall under the area of beautification, the trees were leafing out. And so we talked about it, but there was no official application. We talked about it and decided that we would pick it up again in the fall. And so I kind of rushed this through, really. I kind of pushed it. And the Donovan Group got together and, because of one person's travel schedule, gave a preliminary approval to paying for it contingent on the tree board approving it. So it will be covered out of the Donovan fund. Unless you guys want to pay for it out of your budget.
No.
But they approved the full cutting, correct? Not just the trim? Or whatever.
We approved paying for the preliminary part because we didn't have an entire bid for the whole project. We agreed in principle that it's a good thing to do,
Mhm.
but how it got going recently was we've had mild weather. And I ran into Mike one day and we started talking about it and did a walk around. And then Steve and I did a walk around and the weather kept being mild for another week and another week. And so the idea was to consider the preliminary part of it now. And I hope he can do it in the next couple days. Is he teed up to do that? I don't know.
I think he is, yeah, I mean, the way it sounds, as soon as he has an okay, if he gets an okay, he can get right on it.
Yeah,
And he put a lot of emphasis on the sooner the better.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
Because
obviously
if it
trees
does-
need pruned, so.
If it doesn't get done, and this just early project is getting it up off the bottom. There's an awning, the second building in from 7th Avenue, I think it's Griders on the north side of the street. There's an awning where there's a branch up under there.
Mhm.
And,
You had concern on the one over by the Corn Belt building, right? Did you
Yeah.
already trim that, or was that something he needs?
All the power cords are in there right now.
yeah, that was the other thing. So I was talking to Mike about this. And then that was a complication because there's lights in the trees.
And I think all that's coming down the 7th, correct?
Yeah, it should be
Yeah,
weekend after the 1st or whenever that falls.
but
But he
weather can
knows,
That's when
change
we
it
can
too.
but he knows now that we would just want him to do what he can do
Mhm.
minimal. And that the bid that he gave you was just for the,
The
for the-
minimal.
we called it phase one.
Yeah,
And there's the document that you had a minute ago, I just didn't bring it with me.
this one right here.
It explains kind of more complicated stuff that needs to be done.
Have you
higher
guys,
up
have
in
you,
the trees?
we've never seen this, have we?
No,
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that was when they when they first originally decided to do that back in 2011.
no, this is
This was like,
a proposal that Mike put together.
Oh, no,
oh,
'cause
okay.
I remember when they talked about that tree
Yeah.
when they were gonna plant it, because that was supposed to attract
Well,
birds.
I'll get copies of this to you guys,
They're messy.
so you guys have this.
Okay,
So,
well, I think if it's not coming out of the city budget, coming out of the Donovan.
I mean,
fund,
this
then
normally wouldn't have gone to council if it would have,
You
gone.
you didn't want to zap them all?
I'd love to. Mary don't want me to.
He wants to fill it in with cement. But, no, I think it would be happening in the next couple days because of the weather.
and we're gonna have some nice weather too, so.
And you remember a year ago that, the council meeting that was right, the second one of December is when that big storm started.
Mhm.
Yeah, cause
and
we
it
all
was-
thought we weren't gonna have a white Christmas, so.
We did.
That's why I didn't go to New York, because they had 7 years.
So I wanted to bring that up with you guys, cause Mike did come talk with me and, it would kinda, I mean, Mary said it best, so it's not city funds, so, right?
Right.
So.
It's coming out of the Donovan fund.
Donovan funds, and then,
I mean, if the tree boards approved it, and then.
Yeah, we approved a contingent
Yeah.
on the tree board discussion today, and I understand that went very well. And I think we all agree that, the project that's gonna be done now is just phase one, and there's a further,
Because we've hired Mike twice at the museum to trim all the bushes up and everything. He did a great job. Looks the best it's looked in a long time.
well, it's something that the city could do. I mean, with the man, with the people we have, but, this could leave even Jay for, cause he's got a lot he
Right.
wants to get done yet, so,
No, I think this is a good thing. If the funding's there from that group and we don't have, the city doesn't have to worry about it, I say you go and get it done.
all right.
And the other thing is, when Steve and I did the walk around, we noticed where the trees had been trimmed in the past, there's stop signs, like down by Norgard's office.
Yeah.
If we talked about moving the stop signs instead of hacking away the trees around where the signs are now. And
The stop sign's about 10 feet in the air and
Yeah,
about
there's-
5 feet in from the street. And it can be
Yeah,
brought
it could
down
be
and
moved
closer.
out closer to the street and brought down.
See, they still
and then-
roped you in on work.
Them signs aren't just pushed in the ground there. They got
I know.
like hubs in the bottom.
I know.
They could be
Um,
lowered though, Jay, do you think? So they're not in the tree?
I suppose anything's possible.
We can drive over.
Well, isn't there some kind of regulation how high a stop sign's supposed to be? And these appear to be like too high.
Like monsters.
Well, they're just, the trees, they're growing and, I don't know, they're really close to the tree. They, either the stop sign's in the wrong spot or the tree
What
was
was
planted in
there
the wrong
first?
spot. I don't remember. Well, the trees were this big when they put them in.
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't think those trees were supposed to get that big.
When nobody did.
Mm-mm.
They're huge.
And they're not supposed to attract birds. Birds in them like crazy.
And they're messy in the fall too when they drop those.
I think they had the same problem when they planted the other trees. They weren't supposed to get that big.
Yeah,
Remember how big
you're
those,
right.
all those trees got?
You're right.
Must be good water source.
Evidently.
All right.
It's those people who watered them.
All right, so I can get hold of Mike or you guys can or whatever, so.
I think he needs to start tomorrow
Okay.
with the
All
weather.
right.
And I think kind of what I told him was that as soon as we got this approved, if it got approved, that we would want him to start right away.
Do you want to get hold of him? or-
I can.
Okay, all right. We'll do that then. Okay. Okay, and then one more thing on the mayor's report. I just wanted to, as you see, Mary's got a big plate of some num-nums in front of her. I personally, the last 2 years of being on the council and stuff, I want to thank Mary for everything she's done. The knowledge that she's brought and the years that she's brought to the Belle Plaine City Council. And being the pro tem, helping me out with being the pro tem, through this little area. But I just want to say thank you, Mary, for everything and especially the past couple of years. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Mary.
Yeah. I'm gonna need some help.
You're a coffee drinker, aren't you?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Coffee and cookies.
For how long?
Well,
They'll freeze.
We'll see that
4
truck
days.
flying through town.
okay, correspondence. We have just a couple things on there. The memo regarding the DDG invite coming per Kate Robinson. And I believe you have that in your packet as well.
She didn't have a date yet.
Oh, she didn't have a date? Well, okay.
Just January.
January,
So
Janu-
reserve January.
yeah, January is kind of all we know right now. I think she still had to get a couple things. She was kind of favoring the first meeting in January, but we'll see where she's at there. So, and then the results from the CGA utility rate study. That is in there in that packet as well.
That was really interesting, wasn't it? The rates are all over the board.
But we're
Yeah,
not the
they're
highest.
really, Sandy got that and yeah, if you look through that, I mean, obviously some of the cities aren't our size, but I'm telling you what, some of them rates are,
It'd be crippling for a lot of the people in the
Yeah,
community.
yeah. Yeah, so that is information for you guys as well, just to kind of, with budgeting coming and stuff like that, just kind of just FYI for you.
I wonder if
Good
it would-
reading material.
Exactly.
I wonder if it would be advantageous to make this available to the public.
I'd have to ask Clapsville Barber if that's acceptable. I can do that. I can ask them if that's something that we can put on our website as a FYI.
I think that would be very informational for people who wanted to take the time to look at it. Not
Is all
as
the
bad
new
as they
equipment
were.
running good, Jay?
Yep.
That's good.
And while we're on correspondence, Jay, you got anything for us? So, looks really nice across the street. Thank you for all your
Yes, it
hard work.
does.
Yeah, that's,
Didn't we have a study like that before previously?
Well, it was.
They do it periodically.
Oh, they do?
Minimum
I think I remember it's like a couple years ago or something like that.
Probably. They usually, what they'll do is
2,000.
they'll send out kind of a
3,000.
blanket request to every town and say, basically what it says is, if
Give
you
us your
participate,
information.
if you participate and give us your information, we'll give you the results when we get it all compiled.
Mhm.
It's just kind of their,
It's good knowledge to have.
so we always send our stuff in just
Those are
because
really
I love to get it back,
Yeah.
see what we see. you know.
Mhm.
Old business, there's none. Resident comments? Well, with that, we need an adjournment.
I'll motion for adjournment.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
oh, she
I would-
Good move. That was good, Judy.
All
Well
those in
done.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
She got
Passes
warmed up
4-0
because last week there were only
at
3 of us.
8:26
Oh, yeah, that's right.
PM.
I hope it's not AM right now. Here.